Hello everybody and welcome back to Neptune's Rings. We're here again in Kerbal Space Program. Where I believe we last left off, we finally brought Jebediah home. Yep, he's home. Thanks to Valsy, our valiant new recruit and replacement of the dear lost Valentina. She'll forever be remembered. Sorry about that. But in this episode, we're going to take a quick step back from the difficult moon landings, and we're going to do a couple satellite positioning missions. We're going to take this one. This one will be super simple, or it should be super simple. And I'll show y'all why in just a moment. As well as we're going to take this one where we want to position a satellite in orbit around the moon. The Mun, sorry. That should be fun. I should have read those out a little bit better. But for the satellite around the Mun, all we need is a probe that can generate power in a specific orbit, and it needs to have a mystery goo container on it, which is super simple. But for this one, you'll notice it says position satellite launcher in adjusted orbit of Kerbin. Being commanded satellite launcher, ensure that the probe has antenna and can generate power, reach this designated orbit, and maintain stability. As you can see, this is a probe that we already sent up and it's already in orbit. It is this guy. It's this blue orbit here. You see we already have a satellite in that orbit. So all they want us to really do is adjust, as you can see this gray orbit here is what the satellite's in, and they just want us to put it into this blue orbit. So we're just going to switch over, and hopefully, if I was smart, we left an engine and some fuel on this. I did, see? So it's always a good idea to leave a little extra fuel and maneuvering ability in your probes, just in case you get one of these contracts where they want you to adjust the orbit. So you can see, it's mostly a contract that they want us to adjust the inclination of the orbit. As you can see, the planes aren't exactly aligned. Which is a good time to just go over the procedure of how to do that. If any of y'all aren't entirely sure, it's pretty easy. You just get into an orbit relatively similar, or not really, but as long as the two orbits intersect at one point, so this orbit will go, it's below right now, but at this point it's going to start being above the other plane. At that point where they intersect, you simply, okay, so we're going to be going up, so you want to burn anti-normal there, which is basically down, like, so here's your orbital plane, you want to burn down, and that'll adjust your inclination on this side of the orbit to go downward, which in turn will make the inclination on this other side go upward, and it'll align itself into the proper plane. As you can see, the orbits, there we go, I blinked really hard there. The orbits seem to be just about perfectly in line. Can maybe burn a little bit more to get them a little bit more even, but honestly it's probably well within the margin of error that they give you on these missions. So we'll take that, and we'll go ahead and actually I could have just left that open. I can just warp to maneuver here. Always forget to use these. And we'll just get all set up to do our burn. It's only going to take 1 second because, I mean, it's only 40 meters per second. It's going to be super simple burn. And we just, we'll time warp a little bit. Oops, not that fast though. Time warp a little bit to get there a little bit faster. And burn. Ooh, overshot there. So we'll just, we'll burn normal here to readjust our inclination back down. There we go. That looks pretty spot on. And there you go, the mission is satisfied. it's completely happy. Just gotta maintain stability for 10 seconds, which obviously is super simple. There he goes, all done. So now for the actual, you know, quote unquote hard part, we have to launch a new satellite to go into an orbit around the Mun, which I'll show y'all real quick. What's really cool is you can go into your space center, oops, and as you saw earlier, it'll show you, or maybe not, I don't remember, it'll show you the orbit that the contract wants you to go into, as well as even if you don't have the contract yet, it'll show the orbit that the contracts want you to go into, so you can kind of get an idea of what they want you to do before you accept the contract. So this is the orbit we want. It's going in the, you know, right, quote unquote, right direction. This is the pretty typical direction. So you can see, what is it, counterclockwise. It's a pretty typical direction that you orbit around bodies, but it's at this pretty interesting eccentricity, or not eccentricity. No, it looks pretty circular. Inclination around the Mun. So that's gonna be fun to do. It shouldn't be too hard, but it's another step that we have to take. So let's go ahead and spend our science real quick. Actually, I completely forgot that we had to do that. I really want this because it gives us new solar panels, which are super helpful, as well as the main cell engine. That's a very good, very powerful engine. These are nice for probes or smaller craft. RCS fuel tanks. Where are these? Ooh, another fairing, that'll be good. Stack by couplers, supersonic. We don't really do flight. Maybe we'll do an episode on flight here soon. This might be nice. Advanced exploration. This will be nice. Actually, I want to get this. Because with this, it's a mobile processing lab, obviously, as it says there. But basically, you can take science, put it there with the scientist, put the science into here, and it'll basically it'll like multiply your science value. Ladders could be kind of nice. Precision engineering, relays, more probe cores. Do we have monopropellant? Oh, I guess that's that one, and it might be over here. That we're the one that I'm looking for. I don't know. But we'll go ahead and go for this one, which is good because we can get the hitchhiker cabin as well. We'll go ahead and get the science and the precision. As you see, we blew that science super quickly, but hopefully that will help us make a relatively nice probe to send to orbit the Mun. More science. Not that one yet. Did I make sure? Yeah, okay, yeah, we got the hitchhiker cabin. So now let's go ahead and make our probe. Okay, everybody, welcome back, and I think we have a rocket that may or may not get us to orbit. We will see. But basically, I have a pretty simple two-stage rocket, three-stage, depending on how you look at it. We have our solid rocket boosters here that'll help us get up and off the pad. I actually didn't check for thrust to weight ratios. Looks like we're all good. But we have our swivel engine here to help us maintain control with our two fuel tanks here that will thrust with the solid rocket boosters. Once those burn out, the rocket boosters will jettison off and we should still have fuel in our main stage. At which point, once that burns out, we will eject and we have a nice little Terrier engine here, which hopefully will start burning once we're higher up in orbit, more closer to vacuum. And hopefully this stage will be able to get us into a circular orbit around Kerbin, as well as launch us to the Mun. That might be asking a bit much of that stage. And then we have this last stage, our probe here. It's very, very tiny. It's got two retractable solar panels we just unlocked. These will help keep the probe powered, as well as a battery that these will charge up while it goes into the dark side of the Mun. We have our communication as well as a relay comms dish, so we can use this as a relay point. We have our mystery goo and some fuel, as well as the spark engine, which is the equivalent of the Terrier or the Poodle for this size of craft, at least. It's nowhere near as powerful, but it doesn't need to be because it thrusts a much smaller spacecraft. As you can see, it's less than a ton, so much smaller. Let's go ahead and retract those, and we'll go ahead and see how this launches. So far, so good. Getting a little bit of a gravity turn here. Hopefully we don't lose control of it. Don't like that we have a pretty strong roll being induced somewhere. Okay, we're about to eject the solid rocket boosters. And everything's still going well. We're definitely getting up into orbit pretty easily. You start pitching over pretty hard. Definitely not all of an ideal gravity turn maneuver. But you know, we're trying, we're doing our best. Let's get our orbital elements out here so we can see where we're going. We're definitely getting up high into orbit. Should have definitely stopped burning a little bit sooner to save on fuel, but that's okay. Can go ahead, wasting a little bit of fuel here just to get nice and stable. And we'll go ahead and drift up into a higher orbit closer to apoapsis, so we're burning excuse me, sorry about that. So we're burning a little bit more efficiently, at least trying to, just at least a lot. So we'll go ahead and warp to about 2 minutes before our apoapsis. That'll give us enough time to burn and eject and try to circularize. There we go. And we'll go ahead and start burning again. Oh, that didn't last long. Hopefully though, this stage should have plenty of delta V to get us into orbit as well as to the Mun. So that's not too much of a concern. Yeah, I actually planned this rocket relatively decently for my own standards. And usually I'm one for overbuilding, as y'all have probably already noticed, but I think we did pretty good on not overbuilding too much at least. There's probably an element of it in this design, but it wasn't as bad as some of my other designs. I could have gone to the Rockomax size parts, which are the 2.5 meter, I believe. But we're still on 1.25 meter parts, I think. Or maybe I'm off by a size scaling still. We're definitely getting there. We're burned maybe about 3/4 or a quarter of our fuel, maybe a third, probably closer to a third of our fuel, and we're almost in orbit. Let's see, our time to apoapsis is 22 minutes. Actually want that to go down a little bit. Oh no, we don't, because we're going back down. We want that to go up. That's fine though, we're about to break even up here. Or down here at our periapsis is about to come into a proper orbit. There we go. Not the most circular orbit, but it'll do. And actually, that's pretty well lined up to already initiate a burn to the Mun at our periapsis. I wish I had planned that. Okay, and a good trick to better visualize your burn is to focus on the Mun. And it'll bring you over here and it'll show you kind of where you're coming in at and everything. From here we can kind of try to tweak this a little bit to try to optimize our, oops, too much. Wow, I'm really bad at this. Okay, just very gentle. Okay, there you go. That's coming in. You can see it's highly inclined in the wrong direction. But it's not going to do us any kind of good to try to adjust that here. Unfortunately, we have to do it here where the orbits intersect, or the planes intersect at least. But oops, still a bit touchy. What will help is to be a little bit farther away from the moon, but it looks like that's as good as we're gonna get for now. That's not a bad burn though. That's a pretty good burn actually, all things considered. Oops. So we want to go ahead and warp to our maneuver. There we are. And what we probably should have done is put on a an extra control wheel so we can maneuver a little bit better. Maybe some RCS thrusters on the rocket bodies, because right now we're relying on the reaction control wheels of the little probe core, which is pretty small. Oh, that reminds me. How long do we have until our burn? Not too long. I want to eject this, but I also want to be very careful not to mess up my staging. Deploy. There you go. Unfortunately, it's too dark to have seen that. But we want to extend our antenna before we get too far, and extend our solar panels as well, so that we can start generating power as soon as we see the sun. Oh, and we overshot our node, which is fine. I think we're gonna hit the moon regardless, so I'm not too concerned about it. We'll just be a little bit off from what our planned encounter was, but that's not too bad. Go ahead and watch the orbit grow here, so we can kind of keep an eye on it and see where we need to think about slowing down our burn so we don't overshoot anything. Getting close. I'm gonna turn that off so we're not distracted by all the extra lines. There we are. Okay, that works for me. We can go ahead and, oops, not that one. Come on, just want to, nope, want to warp to the encounter. No, there we go. Let's say we'll go ahead and go into ship view so we can see our solar panels. They'll actually track the sun. Our time warp's complete. We'll kind of orientate ourselves a little bit better so that we, oops, we get as much electric charge flowing as possible. There you go. Oh, I love the way those look. Can't wait until we get the really large arrays. I mean, they're obviously way too big for a probe this size, but we can put them on our what's it called? Our space stations. So that'll be nice. And just let. Oh, hey, look, it's the moon. Hopefully that's working properly. Okay. And we'll just kind of drift into the moon now. Like to warp to here. That way we can start, let's come out of that warp. Let's rotate. And what we're actually going to do is we're going to overshoot our, a circular orbit. We're actually going to plan a collision course with the moon so that we can eject our other stage there. And have it crash into the moon so we're not leaving any space debris. I don't want to. Just kind of want to barely be crashing into the moon because otherwise we're wasting fuel on our upper stage. Sorry about that. Okay, and now we can eject the probe. I think we did that. Nope. There we go. And we'll turn the probe around. Actually, we're gonna burn. There we go. Whew. A little bit more of a thrust than I was planning on that there. Just do a little bit of burn that way so that we get out of line with our debris there, so we don't burn directly back into it. That would be kind of unfortunate. Okay, and we're just gonna bring our orbit back up. Burn a little bit more fuel than I planned to. Okay, and we will go ahead and we're going this way, so we're gonna plan our maneuver here. We're going to need to burn normally to bring our apoapsis up. You can see it's a little bit finicky just because of sorry about that. Just because of orbital mechanics, they're a little finicky. But that should do it. also going to want to bring that in a bunch. Bring this down. Down more. Sorry, I'm just trying to be as efficient with this burn as possible, because it's more efficient to make one burn than a bunch of smaller burns. So if I can get our inclination spot on as well as our apoapsis just about spot on, that'll be better than having to do it sporadically. Probably could have packed a little bit more fuel onto this craft, but that's fine. We'll get it into the proper orbit, and we should be able to move it to a different orbit should that contract arise later. Go ahead and overshot it a little bit. Go ahead and get it into position so that once we're ready to burn, we can go ahead and do that. Oh, it's not going to take too long of a burn at all. I love the way those solar panels look. So we got full, almost full strength signal, so that's good. So we're gonna burn at about 4 or 5 seconds. Ooh. That's not ideal. This craft is a little, it's not quite weighted properly, which is not ideal by any means, because now our burn is not properly on the spot. Okay, let's see what that did for us. Oh, not actually, that did better than what I had originally planned. I'm not gonna argue with it. Just gonna have to bring the periapsis out just a tad bit. About there should do it. And we'll go ahead and warp to that maneuver. As you can see, it's pretty obvious what's wrong. The craft isn't weighted properly. This is a little bit heavier, so it creates a moment, tries to torque it in that direction. I think that's the way it was trying to go. Which isn't the end of the world, it just kind of makes maneuvering a little bit more difficult. So it's very important to try to get your spacecraft to kind of be weighted evenly, so you don't get all these accidental torques and moments built up, so you burn straight. But you live and you learn, or at least you'd hope you do. Can't say I always do. I'm just gonna burn slowly so that the forces aren't too bad. We'll miss our target a little bit, but it shouldn't matter too much. Just a little bit more. A bit more there. Perfect. And we'll see. Does that close enough? No. We're gonna need a. What's our periapsis? 601, 603. Yeah, that's close enough. But we're gonna need a 680. Yeah, we're gonna need to bring up our apoapsis slightly. Let's go ahead and warp there. We don't need to plan a maneuver for this. We know how to raise an apoapsis. This kid stuff. Right. And the contractor was happy with that. We just gotta stay here for 10 seconds. There we are, spot on. Okay, just want to make sure that this is in a good orientation to stay powered properly. I'm gonna point this towards the sun maybe. It's really kind of hard to tell. That's actually probably good enough. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So that'll make sure it gets continual sunlight perfectly. It won't ever have a power problem unless it's behind the mun, but once it comes back out and sees the sun, it should be fine. Yeah, and there we go. Those two contracts finished. And now we're starting to begin to develop our comms relay system a little bit stronger. Ooh, interesting. Let's get another satellite around Kerbin. Actually, I wonder if they want us to get the satellite there, if they want us to move this one, because it's pretty close to that orbit already. Anything for the mun? Nope, we're pretty happy. I want some science from the mun. We might do that in future episodes, as well as we'll start building a mun base, not on the surface to begin with, but like a satellite base research station around the mun. Maybe around Kerbin eventually. I feel like that's pretty easy though. Let's go ahead and check out what that contract is real quick. Ooh, we can rescue someone. Yeah, they wanted us to adjust the orbit. That's okay. We already did one, so I might do that off camera. Cause you know, we obviously we can go ahead and go and do it real quick. We've seen how easy it is. It'll take us like 2 minutes. Okay, let's go ahead and see where they want us. Okay, they want us to adjust the inclination a little bit. That's easy. Just take the we'll take the descending node because we'll come up on that one first. Right about there. Right, a maneuver. We'll just want to burn normally. Alright. Kind of hard when you're focused on your satellite on the other side of the orbit. Get all this to line up to see well what we can burn it a little bit more normally, I think. Just a tad bit more. There we go. That should be fine. And we'll warp to that maneuver. And luckily, this little satellite seems to have been built a little bit better. I'm not entirely sure why. Now that I look at it, it looks about the same. So it just doesn't have the mystery goo on top. But, you know, whatever. It's fine. Gonna warp a little bit, time warp a little bit. Make sure that we're at our node. Three, 2, 1, and we'll burn there. There we go. That'll do. Okay, and now we just got to adjust our apoapsis and periapsis to be what the contract wants them to be. Well, it's 5.7 or 5.5, so we'll just bring that up there a little bit. Try to get pretty close, but you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. As I try to be pretty perfect. Alright, that'll do. That'll do, pig. That'll do. Go ahead and get in position for that. Oh my god, it's such a small burn. We might actually have trouble doing that. We're gonna have to do some thrust limiting. So we can turn down how much thrust we actually get out of our engines, so we don't accidentally overshoot that, because we definitely would overshoot that if we try to do a 0.1 second burn. Oh my god, can you even imagine? Level of precision. There you go. Go up here. And basically, oh wait, no, we need to bring our periapsis in. There we go. 477, 4. We can do a little bit more. Yep, that'll do. And this burn's a little bit more intense, so we didn't have to thrust limit, but we'll go ahead and leave it limited for now. Oh, whoop, whoop, overshot a bit. Yep. It's not liking that. Why are you not liking that? There we go. Just have to do a little bit of a radial burn. That should solve it. So basically what it was is you can see our blue orbit is a little bit farther out than the red orbit, and it wants it to be pretty much, it wants us to move our orbit that way, this way a little bit. So you just burn either radially or anti-radially depending on which way you want to go. Super easy maneuver to do. Not too fuel consuming, at least not for this this degree of burn that we need to do. It's not that bad off. Okay, and it seems happy with that, so we'll go ahead and leave it there and maintain stability for 10 seconds. And there we go. Perfect. And I still have about half a tank of fuel in this probe. Get our money's worth out of that one. And that's why it's very important to, you know, make sure you're pretty efficient with how you make those. So like if you get those, you can continue to continue to use them to do more contracts. You can see we have a couple to put satellites around Minmus. Maintain mystery goo thermometer. We're gonna have to do those probably. That sounds like fun. We'll do those in the next episode, or in one of the next episodes. But for now, this has been Neptune's Rings playing Kerbal Space Program. Bye.